Cut the dang music. Just cut it. Just freaking cut it. What's up, guys? Hope you're great. Before we start the live stream, as we filter some people in here, I want to update you guys on coaching because everything has changed. So you guys are going to want to look at this. Let me see if I am on the right background. Okay, cool. So here's the bottom line. Since we booked the 3 and 6 month coaching packages again, I just ran like a 50% off for about a month, the April intake discount window. So right now, 3 months and 6 months, these are the advanced TRT sexual function restoration coaching programs are booked. I'm at capacity and I can't take anymore. If you need special consideration and you're just really looking to pull the trigger now and you need to get on board, I might be able to take you. You'll have to email me at ryan@livecortex.com, and that's at the bottom of every one of these coaching packages, these last two. What I do want to say to you folks is that still available is the TRT sexual function consult. So if you're having libido erection issues on TRT, just book this consult. It's a 45-minute call with me. We'll fact find, audit everything, generate protocols, give you 3 to 5 adjustments, and you can go on your way. But I wanted to introduce to some of you folks who haven't seen it a newer, lower ticket item, meaning lower price TRT consult. It's the TRT protocol audit. All right. It's a full 8-point audit of everything in your protocol, whether it's the HCG dose, the frequency, the test dose, the frequency, analyzing how you've responded to various esters or attempts in the past, and then giving you targeted advice on what to do. Doesn't come with an online document. You'll have to take notes. But you know, this is a great entry point for people that aren't looking to do coaching or a larger consult. It's a 30-minute call with me still. All right. You can book all that stuff in the description or at livecortex.com. And let me bring myself back up skis. What's up, everybody? Is my audio good? There we go. All right, sweet. Cool. Brothers. How's your weekend been? What's it, Saturday now? It's not officially spring yet in Pittsburgh. It's just, we're just still waiting on it to become nice consistently. We've had some shitty weeks as of late. It's going back and forth. You know, we had an initial period in April where it was like sunny and springy. And now it's like, you know, it went back and forth. We had some 50-degree days. It's oscillating. It's raining now, but 60-something. So, I mean, eventually we'll get there. It is May 9th, dude. God, I hate that. I hate that. I would, if it was up to me, you know, I have a girlfriend, she has kids, I would be in Florida for the winter. That's just it. And that's like eventually what's definitely going to happen. Okay, so before we get to questions, as we filter some folks in here, let's talk about TRT strategy for libido. Listen, number one, you have to think about windows and the windows that you may get in at various times where you have libido, and pay particular attention to the conditions that are present during those windows. I think the number one thing that people have to do when they're in a good window trialing a TRT protocol is go get bloods, okay? The moment that things are good, especially that your libido is primed, you should go measure your bloods. You should measure total test, free test, estradiol sensitive, DHT, and just go ask ChatGPT, what are the ratios here, you know? And I think it's important to understand that ratio can then scale upward. So you can increase the dose as long as you hit that ratio to your estrogen erection threshold. Yeah, people have a threshold with estradiol above which, no matter how much, you know, DHT, et cetera, they have, they're still going to have erection issues. So it is important to try to figure out those ratios. Libido is not anything special or driven by anything special other than the proper hormone balance. That's basically it. You could have libido at 70 milligrams a test a week, which is a very low dose. Doing 10 milligrams a day and 100 IU of HCG a day, you're probably going to feel like shit, but you might have libido because you fell in a favorable ratio. You know, that's just it. Your body was able to steadily supply the brain with the libido aspects, you know, the dopamine, oxytocin stuff, and, you know, in those ranges, estrogen's definitely low, so erections should work. The same can be true for a 150 milligram injection at once. Your body is surging with androgens, and in that case, usually estradiol is still lagging behind, especially if you were on a lower dose and then suddenly you inject 150. You're going to have libido. You can reach it at various doses. The trick is snapshotting the bloods and understanding how to stay there. And that goes into pharmacokinetics of cypionate. If you change your dose on cypionate, or you get on cypionate from prop or cream or something, and then you front load even, but at week 2.5 you have this insane libido, you need to snapshot the bloods, because if you then stay at your whatever cypionate dose thereafter, you might just blow right out of the threshold. You may not, who knows? But it's important to pay attention to these things. Libido is not hard to engineer on TRT. I think some people have given up and they think, well, on testosterone, I just can't have it. Oh, believe me, you can fucking have it, man. I mean, you can have some raging libido. All right, let's get the questions. Assuming estradiol is in a good range, can testosterone that's above someone's ideal level reduce sexual sensitivity or make it harder to climax? Yes, the answer is yes, and that's driven by an imbalance between DHT and estradiol. Or more generally, the people that say this from a real general perspective, an imbalance between testosterone and estradiol. I think it's truly an imbalance between DHT and estradiol. Yeah, people have to remember, I don't think people get the extent to which DHT blocks estrogen. I mean, the only person on the web that I've really seen describe this correctly is Vigorous Steve, right? Not just the RNA transcription inhibition, but also the downregulation of the genes that encode the aromatase enzymes, the blocking of the estrogen receptors. So, that could be the thing that's happening. At the same time, I mean, there is a subset of individuals that once they go on higher doses of test, especially if they're pretty low normal aromatizers, they're going to need more estrogen to support that test, and not just to prevent side effects or whatever, but for libido. I think people generally have this idea that like libido and erection quality and stuff is like strictly driven by androgens. They make it, it is, and they make it work, especially DHT, and the dopamine increases this increased dopamine synthesis in the brain. But estradiol needs to be proportion to that testosterone. So this is where people run into problems. Like, you can't just mega dose forever. That doesn't scale forever. But as you go up in the higher doses, you should be able to, if you're a healthy person, otherwise tolerate some more estradiol. And that balance has got to be in place where still you have erections and you're able to have libido. The reduced sensitivity here it's like the same thing as if you would take some Masteron or Primo or an AI, and you just took the estrogen threshold a little lower than it should be. That's the kind of thing that happens there. Again, I'm at 1170 total testosterone, above the range free test, but not by leaps and bounds. And my estrogen is between 37 and 42. And there, like with those levels of test, that's good. It's like me being at 25 or 30 estradiol when test is at like 800 or 900 or something. I'm on 175 milligrams a week. Now, like if I, at the same time, so my estrogen's got to be like right around 42, 37, 45, and then everything's good. My libido's fucking high. If I wanted to replicate that at lower doses, I'd go to 140 total a week, and I'd be doing 40 milligrams every other day. 100 IU a day of HCG kind of thing. But that's probably what you need to do. If I were you, I'd experiment with increasing HCG really subtly, slowly until you reach your sweet spot. The worst case scenario, you have to reduce the dose back down. Ultra worst case scenario, you inject 0.25 milligrams estradiol and see if that fixes things. These things do have to be in balance. I've always harped on estrogen as an erection inhibiting chemical because it is in the wrong ratios. But some people need more of it if they're, mega dose and test. How many milligrams of DHT to the 20% gel you may contain in one dose? 1 milligram. Yeah, because I took it and reconstituted further with MCT oil. Yeah, to the point where I would get 1 milligram per drop. So I had to run that through AI and to tell me exactly how to do it, considering how many drops are in each dropper vial. So like I'd take the dropper, fill it up, and then drop it and count it, and then I would have to program that information into chat. and ask it, how many milliliters of whatever reconstitution oil, in this case MCT, would I put in to get down to a milligram a drop. That was the target. If you just take the DHT alone, the 20% stuff, the dropper that those guys give it to you in, I think it's 7 to 10 milligrams of DHT per drop. Now, I want people to understand that's a lot of DHT. That's why 1 milligram of DHT is a great place to start. Weeks ago, I injured my levator scapulae, and I think the T1, what is it? The T1, fuck, I forget. One of these spine things up here, and I got to every now and then be moving my neck like a fucking brontosaurus in order to keep stretching it. Thoughts on daily use of a testosterone ester blend, something like 1,1-ethylpropionate. Okay, yeah, this is very common and it can work for people. I think it's harder to reach. It makes it a little bit harder for you to reach your consistent, some dose that is consistent, because that prop's going to go like this. Some people, fluctuations are great. Other people, it kind of just throws things off, or they have libido for 5 hours a day and then thereafter they don't. Or erections are good in the middle of the night and they're not good during the day, kind of thing. So you have to figure out if you're one of those unfortunate people that can't really tolerate peaks and valleys, changes in hormone levels, etc. But yeah, I mean, the cypionate propionate blend is popular enough and is in the clinics. That's 160 to 40 milligrams per milliliter. So if you inject 200 milligrams of that, you get 160 milligrams of cypionate and 40 milligrams of prop. I believe that's how that works. That's the kind of thing, though, you would want to inject more frequently, not every day, but like every other day or every third day. Yeah. Yeah, and I think they can totally work. It's all about, again, you try that. At some point, you're probably going to be in a great window. Measure the fucking bloods. Measure the bloods. It really does come down to that, and then trying to replicate that as well. The only time I've seen bloods really not correlate with the symptoms, like the bloods look like they're where the person should have great libido and sexual function, is on daily sub-Q injections. Okay. People need androgen spikes sometimes. The signal strength has to be large. Mike Reynolds. Hey, brother. What's the optimal E2 threshold in PFS? It is on average lower than non-PFS. Typically, yes. Like, as an example, one of my most successful PFS guys is running 200 milligrams of enanthate a week. He's doing every other day intramuscular injections, 200 IU of HCG a day, and 0.125 milligrams of Arimidex every other day. That guy needs to be around 27-30 in estradiol with sky-high test and stuff. And there's no... He's actually dialed in and has relief from all the sexual symptoms of PFS. At the same time, there are people that are going to have to just push higher androgens and let the estrogen go where it naturally falls, assuming it's not like 55, 60, 65, somewhere around the 40s or 45. It all depends on how your body is converting that test to the metabolites. If in these cases you've got somehow malfunctioning 5-alpha reductase enzymes via downregulation of backdoor enzymatic activity, which we think that the 5-alpha reductase inhibitors do, then you've got to carefully manage the protocol, because you're probably over aromatizing per the DHT you're making. So, I mean, generally you want to stay 25 to 35 if you're a PFS person, and then alternatively explore if you can push 45. Assuming, though, that the androgens are pretty high, total tests like 1,100 to 1,400, and free tests at the very top of the range are over. Matthew E. Dub. Dave Lee states that HCG for him was feminizing. I see what he means. This feeling happened to me starting HCG, but the initial uneasy feeling let up as my body got used to it. I think what Dave means and what people might experience there is if your protocol is not pretty DHT heavy and you don't have a good degree of DHT to support the masculine frame and the masculinizing effects of the brain your current state. Like when you're dosing a DHT heavy protocol, you are generally much more manly. If you're getting enough DHT, you convert well, you're generally much more manly. And if you go and fuck that up by adding more estrogen, then you're going to feel less like that. That's essentially it. The distinction to make here is that HCG does not inherently reduce DHT's masculinizing effects on your brain state in the current moment, assuming there's enough DHT-like signal and not a lot of estrogen signal. Not a lot of HCG, estrogen-based HCG facilitated signal, if you understand what I'm saying. There's a balance there. I don't function sexually the greatest with a disproportionate, like super high disproportionate DHT to estrogen ratio. My erections will be fucking stellar, but my libido needs a little more estrogen to kind of balance that out, and I've been in states, like you can be in states with really high DHT where emotionally too, you're just not on point, like, relationally, you just have no empathy for your partner or people around you. And that's not the greatest place to be either. So you do need a little bit of that HCG, like I wouldn't call it feminizing input, but you'd be hard pressed to find a man with no empathy that's a successful man in anything in life. So it kind of helps on those regards. You just have to find the balance, man. Don't overdose the shit. Find the minimum effective dose that makes everything work according to your test dose. No more, no less. Not joshing around. Any familiarity with pramipexole? Yeah, it's another D2 receptor agonist, like CAB and bromocriptine, have been at this PSSD game for 4.5 years, can't get an erection other than benefits from TRT and other benefits from TRT, but the dopamine isn't there. Tried MBC and oxytocin, but felt nothing. That means it's not dopamine, okay? You guys need to get off of this idea of like taking dopamine receptor agonist or lithium orotate or what's that other shit that people were taking to try to counterbalance this. Yeah, you need your hormone profile is not right. Yeah, at least you can get erections, and that's great. Yeah, you need to inject more at once, less frequently, and I bet you'd have your libido back. If you have no libido, try injecting 150 milligrams in your glute of cypionate. I bet you'll have libido. Or try taking whatever, that's one option. Try taking whatever protocol you're at now, and then once a week adding like 40 to 60 milligrams of testcypionate. I bet your libido will increase, And if not, it's just, I don't really know where your numbers are here either. So I can't guide you in that direction. But whether it's PSSD or PFS, libido is very achievable. You guys have to remember, men that have not taken hair loss drugs or SSRIs, get on TRT, and if the balance isn't right, they don't have libido. Dude, they can have the same syndromes you guys have. I've seen it, dude. These guys have no Accutane, no finasteride, no dutasteride, no fucking sertraline in their history, and they've got PFS-like symptoms or PSSD-like symptoms. Hormone protocol's not right. You can get the libido back, bro. But, you might just try injecting a lot at once one day, and then give it a break. See what happens. You might be one of those guys that needs 200 once a week. You might be one of those guys that needs 400 every 2 weeks. Okay? We can't just discount those traditionally endocrinologists prescribed protocols because we think we're fucking new and evolved and we should be doing sub-Q injections in our belly fat every day. Yeah, some people can do that. Some people got to load up the test and then give it some time in between peak and trough. Been trialing some Proviron for 2 weeks. The mental benefits are fucking amazing, but it nukes my hair. Hey, that's where I'm at with it, bro. I'd love to take Proviron every day of my life. Not only are the mental benefits insane, but my fucking shoulders round out more, and I just get super lean as long as I'm not stuffing my face with calories. And I love how I feel, dude. My fucking voice gets deeper on the shit, dude. I swear I notice it. It just does. It's one of the most androgenizing compounds you can take, but it nukes your hair, man. It truly does nuke a lot of people's hair, mine included. I can run it for a month and then I'm like, fuck, dude, my hair. I'm just like, shit starts. There's gaps. If I look down at my hair, there's like gaps and shit, and the hairline starts to get a little worse and shit. But sometimes it's worth it for a month, man. Dude, some of my craziest fucking leanest physiques were on Proviron. I know I'm not gonna. I know I don't have them here, but is that it? Yeah, actually, that was one of them. Yeah, this was me on Proviron. It's like I was in controlled calorie state, but like just after a month of running it, you just look fucking shredded, man. The definition increases. There's so many good things about it. I wish I could take it every day of my life. Have you seen people where HRT was not sufficient for optimal sexual function? No. I've seen a lot of the wrong protocols, be not optimal for sexual function. I've never seen that though. No. Nope. Again, regular dudes that don't have PFS or otherwise sexual dysfunction induced by fucking drugs, they have sexual dysfunction on TRT because the fucking protocol's not right. For clarification, dopamine meaning orgasms and libido, it's muted. Yeah. That happens on the wrong hormone protocol. It does. Like I can go up to 4,000 nanograms per deciliter total test, take an AI, overshoot it. The E2's at 20 and I have no libido or sensation. It's happened to me. It happened to me on cycle. So I had to reduce the dose of aromasin in that case. And then the E2 was back up to 35 and all that came back. But you can induce these states and you think it's like, you then think it's like dopamine or some other thing, like the brain isn't working right. Your hormones aren't allowing it to work right. You can take anyone on TRT that's dialed in and change one thing in their protocol and they'll lose sensation and libido. People have to remember the sexual system is a very fucking fragile system. And you now are in control of it. If you're on TRT, your body's not managing the metabolites and the balance and everything for you. You have to engineer it. That's why I created all these products and do coaching. When our 3-month plan's opening up, it's probably going to be August, at which point we'll do a discounted intake. But again, man, I mean, if you need to be on board, just email me at ryan@livecortex.com. And, I'll do some consideration. I can't guarantee I can get you in, but I can't leave the website up where coaching is available because then they're just going to book and book and book. And I cannot handle that right now. I booked 27 people in April. So, I mean, I still have time throughout the day. I do, but I don't want to leave the website coaching up because then there's going to be fucking 25 more booking. And at that point, I won't be able to do anything. I don't think I can go to the gym during the day. I just have to eat, sleep, wake up, coach. And your experience, but listen, if you email me, and I could probably get you in. In your experience, when do you determine a person would do better on prop every other day instead of daily? When the daily injections of prop are like leaving them flat sexually despite having good numbers. Again, some people need pulses and androgens in order to reach an androgenic threshold. I do not really know if this has to do with DNA transcription, androgen-mediated gene activation, necessitating a stronger, more pronounced, longer lasting agonism at the androgen receptors via DHT and test. But this happens to people. They just need a stronger androgen signal at once. And so, when the numbers look fine, but in everyday protocol, you feel flat, libido and erection wise, that is the time. That is the determinant. I drank a ton of water this morning and a Canada Dry ginger ale, so I have got to excuse myself to let all of that out of my system for just a sec. So hold on, guys. Right back. All right, my brothers in testosterone. Let's get back to it. My take on maca is that, yeah, it changes hormones to some extent. It is marginally useful. I don't think. Listen, if maca root was some fucking panacea, was some major facilitator of sexual function with men on TRT or not on TRT or natural, whatever, more people will be talking about it like it's a miracle. It's not. Prednisone completely killed my libido and erections. Trying to get it back. Any idea where to start? Well, what did prednisone do? It's glucocorticoids. Yeah. Binds to cytoplasmic glucocorticoid receptor, translocates to the nucleus and alters gene expression, inhibit pro-inflammatory signals, and promote anti-inflammatory genes. Okay, that's good, but what did it do? Yeah, the glucocorticoid receptors are involved in sexual function to some degree. What did it do here? Reduces the expression of cytokines. Got it. There's got to be some other thing that's happening here. Induces cell death in immune cells. Well, that's probably not good for libido. Let's see what else. I just an immunosuppressive thing, you know. And I don't know the upstream negatives to that. It's got to be messing with either neurotransmitters or sex hormones to some extent. Yeah. But the glucocorticoid receptors are involved in sexual function. I'd urge you to go and research that and try to figure out the pathways you might need to target. Either way, though, you should be taking exogenous hormones, testosterone specifically, to try to modulate that. And I bet you could get it back as long as you're not taking that prednisone anymore. Get on the right TRT protocol and you'll be fine. Extremely limited supplement regimen at the time. DHEA, vitamin D, benfotiamine, sodium alginate. That's an anti-reflux thing. I take ginger for digestion, for motility, gut motility every day, which really is useful. Otherwise, nothing. I started taking benfotiamine to upregulate a enzyme related to the storage of glucose as glycogen. Just did some research and figured that would be interesting. Otherwise, that's it, man. I'm not taking a lot of supplements. What's going on, Ryan? Just curious, how do you get your clients dialed in or adamant on running Sustanon? Hope you're well. I don't get many people that want to run Sustanon. That's why. That's. I mean, I can't really even think of the last time I had a person on Sustanon. Yeah. But a lot of the same rules apply. You know, you inject the shit too frequently and you don't get enough of an androgen pulse. Although there are some fast-acting esters in Sustanon, it doesn't work for everybody in that regard. And it's just about, you know, finding the windows that work and snapshotting the bloods, understanding that person's ratio, therefore, and trying to replicate it and keep them there. It's not difficult to dial in on Sustanon. I just haven't done it in quite a long time. Last time was literally 2 years ago, I think. Russell Hill, thanks for the super chat. Brother, I started 200 milligram cream, 2 clicks in the AM. Okay, so the scrotal clicks. No HCG will start soon. At 3 weeks, I got bloods at peak. Total testosterone at peak was 3,000 nanograms per deciliter. 779 free test. Estrogen 119, DHT 230, libido up, EQ is non-existent. What do you suggest I do? There's two possibilities here. There's number one, the DHT, even at that high estrogen, is crowding out the estrogenic signal and giving you an AI-like induced erectile dysfunction, which can happen. And the other possibility is your estrogen is far too high. It is creating pro or anti-erectile chemicals like noradrenaline, which it does. It's blocking cholinergic mediation and nitric oxide signaling in the penis, which it can do. It's either one of those. And the way you can tell is, I'm going to say this over and over to people because this is a real missing link in the diagnostic work of trying to figure out what's wrong on TRT. You have to look to your penis to understand. If it's high estrogen, you will have libido that is intact. Libido that is intact, but erection quality that is not. At the same time, this looks like what you have here. The feel of the penis will be like spongy and squishy. You'll have girth, but spongy and watery. You have to compare this to how your body looks when you have high estrogen versus high DHT, an estrogen dominant state versus a DHT dominant state. In the estrogen dominant state, you're fluffy and watery. So is your penis fluffy and watery and unable to get hard? Or if it's too much DHT crowding out the estrogen signal, the penis is typically rubbery, kind of hard, flaccid, and still unable to get an erection, though, like an actual full erection. And your libido is very lukewarm or non-existent in the case of DHT crowding out the estrogen. So determine which of those things are more close to your symptoms at this point, and then make an adjustment. You know, the protocol is generally unsustainable as it stands here. I mean, at trough, I bet you're a lot lower on everything, but it's not like I wouldn't increase the cream dose and that would fix things. You would just scale it in the wrong direction. You're already in the wrong direction at this point. You are a hyper responder to 2 clicks of cream, 200 milligram cream. That shit would take me to 700 at peak, maybe 800. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Test your trough. If your trough is still very within, you know, if your trough is still super physiologic, you probably want to move down to 1 click of that cream a day. But if your trough is fucking hypogonadal, you're responding too variably to cream, and you're just peaking at 32-13. That's fucking insane. Yeah, I mean, you might do better with 1 and 1, bro. Like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. See ultimately where those numbers go, but the first part of the answer really applies. What is the penis doing on it? Is it hard, flaccid, dry, no libido, or is it spongy and watery and stuff with libido? If it's the latter, you've got elevated estrogen and you need to get that down, man. If it's the former, the DHT signal is too powerful for that estradiol, despite it being massively super physiologic. Are you using Provide right now? I have some. I am not using it. No. I just don't want to lose any hair, man. I don't want to, like on cream, my hair was pretty fragile. It was fine, but I could tell it was weaker. I have a lot of DHT on Sipian. I'm on 175 milligrams a week, but it doesn't just like peak up and therefore have a much more pronounced effect at the scalp androgen receptors and the subcutaneous tissue in my scalp. It's not reduced as heavily as it was on cream. Therefore, my follicles are able to be healthier. If you experience significant hair loss on TRT, what specific mitigation steps would you take personally, and how would that differ from what you typically recommend to your clients? It would be no different than what I recommend to clients, number one. Secondarily, I would stop peaking DHT in a volatile manner. That's what I would do. That's the first thing I would do. Yeah. Whether it was prop, like large injections of prop, do that. If 70 to 100 milligrams at once of prop will absolutely start nuking your hair if you're susceptible to it, even if you don't have the MPB gene, if you will. If I was on test cream, I'd switch back to a long ester or balance out shoulder application to scrotal application. Just switch it up with a little more shoulder application, potentially reduce the HCG dose so that the estrogen doesn't go above the range that I feel good at and erections work at and stuff. The only things you can really take that don't run the risk of giving you long-standing sexual dysfunction, meaning don't take 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, are tocotrienols, TB500, microneedling, and red light therapy. Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things you can take, all of which are marginally helpful and definitely won't be as effective as finasteride or any of that stuff, but finasteride will kill your dick and your libido and give you psychiatric disorders. Not having HCG in my protocol brings my sensitivity down. Yeah, it's either via less functional testes or less estrogen relative to your androgens. This happens to me like at 140 a week a test, doing daily intramuscular injections. if I remove the HCG, I get a pronounced DHT heavy state, and erections are fine, but libido is gone, basically. So I mean, we think that really it's just as simple as having more estrogen. But again, there's the DHT conversion in the testes. There's all the hormone conversion in the testes, the neurosteroid conversions, which are probably driving sensitivity as well. Prop plus cream plus HCG protocol gave me absolutely insane climax intensity, but the acne was wild. Yeah, that can happen. That can happen, buddy. But the acne is probably going to go away eventually. Yeah. I mean, you got to find your right ratios of everything, man, and stay there. Figure out how to stay there. I have the opportunity to try liposomal DHT cream. Okay. One dose contains 25 milligrams of DHT, even though the cream is 10%. Okay. Is that too much DHT at once? I was thinking about using it alongside 200 milligrams test prop. Let me think about this. I have the opportunity to try liposomal DHT cream. One dose contains 25 milligrams. Okay. That is a lot of DHT at once. Yeah, that is a substantial amount of fucking DHT, dude. I mean, probably, bro, you're going to crush estrogen at the gene expression level a lot. Yeah. And you're going to have like low estrogen like symptoms doing this. I wouldn't do that, man. No. Again, the max amount of DHT I'll take is 7 milligrams at once. And that's with 300 milligrams of test. So I can support that much DHT kind of blocking estrogen a little bit and therefore balancing out that protocol. No, it's 350 of test. 25 milligrams of DHT is fucking overloaded with DHT, man. You're probably not going to have a good time. Oh my God, I cannot breathe. I don't know if it's the change in the weather, but my nose is like completely fucking, there's just can't get any air through it. God. My estradiol was 66 in my TRT clinic. Here we go. Kept saying as long as I don't have breast tenderness or irritability, that it's okay. I now take the pill they give and it's below 30. What should it be? Average? 25 to 35. I mean, that's honestly the best range with TRT doses, where you're good. You start pushing above 1200, you might need it to be 37, 45 for things to be balanced. That's what I'd suggest, man. So I heard a lot about Kisspeptin. What are your thoughts on consider trying it? Yeah, I ran a whole experiment with it. I discussed it on the channel. And what I came to learn was that it's just not evolved enough as a gonadotropin support chemical for people on TRT to be taking it. Like in order for it to function the way that we want it to function, you would need to be injecting microdoses of it throughout the day. Many times throughout one day, which is tedious and cumbersome. At the same time, for some unlucky motherfuckers, because it is stimulating pituitary action, it increases prolactin. Somehow, right? Again, it's acting like GnRH. It is telling the lactotropes in the pituitary to release more prolactin. Levodopa scapulae stretch. Oh, man. I'm about 85% healed from that injury, but it still bothers me. And I got to lift less at the gym, which is pissing me off. If you had to pick just one, which route do you prefer for TRT clients? IM or sub-Q? I think you asked something very similar to this last week. The answer is I wouldn't pick one route. So I can't answer your question the way you're wanting me to answer it. Yeah, because, some people, intramuscular is best for sexual function, but they get side effects on intramuscular injections no matter what they do. So, they've got to be sub-Q to have a sustained release of testosterone and not boluses, which usually requires us to do infrequent, somewhat boluses, but of sub-Q. The signal strength, that rush of test is not enough to cause them side effects, but it's enough to support libido and erections. Other people, they don't have any side effects on intramuscular injections, whether it's 50 milligrams injected at once or 200 milligram injections at once. And they require large amounts of tests to hit the system at once, especially for libido. So for them, they need to be running intramuscular injections. Yeah. You have to, and YouTubers have to, everybody has to not make blanket statements or have blanket ideas about TRT. This is why some people will go in the comments and be like, well, but dude, I thought you said you didn't like sub-Q. First of all, nothing I say applies to me. I can do sub-Q fine, not daily. Every other day or outward is fine. But if you're going to be giving advice on TRT, or if you're trying to figure out TRT, you should never think there's a one-size-fits-all. The kind of weird shit that I see that just happens to work and doesn't work for someone else runs the fucking gamut, man. So, nobody should be making blanket statements about anything. So anyway, people think I'm contradictory sometimes. No, I'm not, man. All I'm saying, I'm just the only guy up here telling the fucking truth. I'm not saying everyone should do this or everyone should do that. That is myopic thinking. And it lands people where, so for my clients, I try to figure out what works. But a lot of these other guys that are saying you should do daily sub-Q and nothing else, or you should do this and nothing else, they come to me for coaching. Because, ex-coach out there had their rigid-ass thinking, put them on their rigid-ass protocol, because that's how they think physiology works somehow, but yet they call themselves experts. Client comes to me and has problems. I figure out, what does client need? What do they need? And then we fix it. I'm not biased. I don't care where you end up. You see, I have no dog in the fight. My dog in the fight is what works. That is all. Oh my God. I might need to put a nose patch on. Does it make sense to use Anavar only on, can you hear how congested I am? This is fucking terrible. Does it make sense to use Anavar only on training days? No, it's not too little. I mean, assuming you're training 4 days a week or more, I think that's fine. What drives climax sensitivity or intensity? How does one maximize for that? A balance in hormones is what drives that. A proper balance in hormones. Enough estrogen for your DHT signaling, enough DHT signaling in general. Usually functional testicles for people. But again, that's really just a surrogate for the right hormone balance. That's essentially it. I mean, everything does. If you crash estrogen, you're going to reduce your sensation. If you don't have enough DHT, you're going to reduce sensation. DHT works particularly at penile nerve endings to optimize sensitivity. DHT also via dopamine and oxytocin, spinal interneurons, and the pudendal and dorsal nerves facilitate sensation. So it's way more complex than some simple answer like DHT does or estrogen does or whatever. A balance of everything does. Are many of the mental TRT benefits due to local testosterone aromatization in the CNS enhancing estrogen receptor signaling? Not many, but some. Yeah, some are. Yeah, estrogen modulates serotonin receptor activity. I believe it increases serotonin receptor density, as far as I remember. Either that or certain serotonin receptor expression. 5-HT1 series, probably 5-HT2 series receptors. But the other benefit is androgen receptor activation in the brain, all the various things that does, including dopamine synthesis from increased tyrosine hydroxylase expression. My current protocol is 100 IU of HCG every day and 50 milligrams of testosterone cypionate every other day. Total of 175 milligrams a week. I'm injecting sub-Q into thigh fats, 20 milligrams DHEA a day. Yeah. On that, I'm at, between 1150 and 1200 total tests, between 37 and 45 E2. Feel fucking great. Finally starting to see the anabolism in the gym. That was the sole purpose besides, having some increased energy that I moved off of cream. I just can't really grow. I can stay the same on cream, but I don't have enough androgen receptor, constant androgen receptor activation, nitrogen retention in order to grow on cream, unless I dose the shit high. My daily prop started out amazing. Then it got flat. God. I gotta see a chiro for this. Running blood soon. If they're in a good spot, might double the dose and run every other day. Appreciate you. Yeah, it got flat for 1 to 2 reasons, man. You either crossed your threshold on estradiol or you crossed your threshold on DHT versus estrogen. You need to look at the bloods to determine that, though. Yeah, you need to look at those bloods, man. And when you were good, you should have gotten a snapshot of those bloods so you can see what to go back to. But what probably happened is you blew past the sweet spot. Is, daily might be fine, but now you might have to lower the dose to get back to kind of where that sweet spot was. And wherever that sweet spot is, if you find it again, you got to go run laps. If you don't have the data on when things were great, you're shooting completely in the dark, man. You can dial in without bloods, but it's very useful to have them. Does legitimate original Bayer Proviron still exist? Yeah. Yes. AP, or is it only UGL now? Yeah, AP should have that. Yeah, AP should have it. I haven't looked for Proviron there. The Proviron that I recently got was from someone else. So I haven't looked in a while, but yeah, it still exists. I mean, that shit's still prescribed in other countries. So yes, it's still available in Turkish pharmacies, I want to say. I'm a crazy responder to cream. 50 milligrams on the scrotum, and I'm around 2,500. Yeah, you are an absolute fucking hyper responder to that shit, brother. How do I feel with the new protocol? Sexual function are much better with testosterone cream, right? No, it's not. Sexual function isn't better on any ester. Sexual function works when you have the right hormone ratios and balance for you. And the right frequency. So much of people's TRT problems can be fixed by changing their frequency and not by decreasing or increasing the frequency, by decreasing it. By injecting every 3rd day or every 4th day, more at once. So long as the total numbers don't go past your threshold. And in terms of sexual function, I feel the same, pretty much the same. Yeah. High libido, good erections, great sensation. Waking up with wood, having wood in the middle of the night, it's the same because I dialed it in to where I know I need to be. That's pretty much it. Proviron can affect libido, just like any other androgen. Yeah, it could increase LDL, lower HDL, entirely possible. Damn, you look crazy on Proviron. I know what you mean about the voice. It's the whole manly aura. Gets tuned up to max in every way. Women can sense. Yeah, women always sense that shit. But yeah, it's just fucking pure androgens, man. You get the purest androgen signal with that stuff. I love it. Benfotiamine kicks ass. Activates trans ketolase glucose oxidation and glucokinase. Yeah, that is among one of the reasons that I wanted to take it. It was really facilitating glucose's activity. I take dextrose before the gym most days, and I want to get like the best bang for that buck. And I physically fucking feel it. B1 is a very important B vitamin for glucose metabolism. There's all kinds of biohacks that you could be running on your body to make it just a little bit better. And, for me, benfotiamine is one of them. What blood test should you get to get your baseline data? Like where hormones are? Don't get a packaged one, is what I would suggest. Yeah, I would if I were you, I would get total testosterone, free testosterone, estradiol sensitive, DHT, and bioavailable testosterone. I saw your microdosing caffeine video. I don't even remember what I said in that video, bro. But there was a point at which I think I probably was just microdosing little bits of caffeine throughout the day. And it's good. I mean, it's like sustained energy. Does Proviron need to be cycled. One of your videos mentioned if you stop providing, the benefits can be permanent. Yeah, there's probably some masculinization stuff that's relatively permanent or semi-permanent. But no, it doesn't need to be cycled if you're not worried about your hair. If it's not creating some catastrophic negative, then it doesn't really need to be cycled. But if it's nuking your fucking hair, you're going to want to cycle it. That's like how I am with it. I like to use it. I'm on it for a month. My physique looks great. And, you know, my fucking voice deepens. There's always an increase in sexual function, you know, be it marginal or significant. I'm usually dialed in when I take it, so it's just marginal. But it nukes my hair. It truly does, and that sucks. Yeah, you could still get benefits from microdosing caffeine if you're used to bolus dosing it or whatever. Yeah, I would just be making like half calves throughout the day. That's what I would do if I were you. Off his rocker, 200 to test and 100 to primo, 2-1. Good luck, brother. That might be great, or you might crush your libido because the primo's too high. I've seen that before. But good luck. On Cypionate, 120 a week, EOD. So 60, right? I got it. Estradiol's in the 120s, sensation and reduced. Thoughts on cream prop and doses? Appreciate you. What? I don't know what you mean by thoughts on cream prop and dosage. Do you mean considering you're not in the right place here, should you switch to cream or prop and doses on each? Super chat that, man. If your E2 is 120s, that picograms per milliliter or nanomolars per liter? You got to specify. Just started 200. Okay. Yeah. My approach to being dialed in 200 milligrams of test and 100 primo, adding HCG. I don't know what your dose is, but I would only dose it at like 100 IU a day. The approach to dialing in would be to, if you're not front loading, wait 6 weeks. Go run bloods on total test, DHT, estradiol sensitive, free test, bioavailable test. And, you know, look at the bloods, analyze those, compare that to your symptoms. At the same time, if at like week 3, your libido is just going away, that might be the time to go run bloods right then and probably realize that primo dose is too high. Again, primobolan gets into the aromatase enzyme and fucking blocks it. So it can crush your libido. It can crush your libido. Otherwise, yeah, you know, if at any point you have great libido and great erections, run to Quest and get your labs. Then you know where you need to be. Okay. If you're only 4 weeks in, you're probably going to then overshoot. You still have 2 more weeks for things to accumulate. But at least you have a benchmark for where you need to be. Estrone is 29. This is estrone or estradiol. Oh, and estradiol, it's an A, is 8.4. Okay. The clinic says it's high, but looking in the range and low. If this is picograms per milliliter in the estradiol, that's low. Yeah, that is very low. Rick Diaz. So to higher total T, would you say most would need higher E and not the in range of 20 to 35? Yeah, I'm at 42 right now, but I go higher than that in this particular ratio or a range of total test, free tests and stuff. Then I'll have noodle dick, and things will start getting weird. Always assume no matter what total T 20 to 30. Yeah, with TRT doses is 100% of the time. But I'm at 1200 total test. I mean, I'm not really doing TRT. You know, TRT is like 700 to 900 really. You know, I mean, these aren't. Here's how this works. In the 115 to 130, even for some people 140 milligram range per week of testosterone, their estrogen window is extremely fucking narrow, and it's like 20 to 35. You start pushing 150 to 175 to 200, that window opens up a little bit, not a lot, a little bit, and you can tolerate 45 to 60 if you're on the very high end of things, above which you're still going to have problems. That's just always been the case. Now, we're dealing generally with people that are on TRT and are modestly dosing it, but still at high normal. So that's the narrow range of 20 to 35. That is where you must be, you know. At the same time, though, you've got to look at all these other metabolism dynamics. If you convert way too much to DHT and you're an under aromatizer, then that estrogen might need to be higher, you know. So the general rule is, unless you're pushing 1200 or above, call it 1100 or above, 20 to 35, 25 to 35. If you're up there, if you figure out how to get to 1200 total tests and E2's at 30 and you're lacking libido, that's an indication that E2 needs to be a little higher for you. Is the only reason you're on cypionate for the energy and anabolism? If your sole focus was sexual function, would you just do 175 a prop? Yeah, pretty much. Because if the sole focus was that and the dopaminergic hit of prop, the thing about what you're referring to, which is my 25 milligrams a day of prop, which is great for sexual function, pretty piss poor for anabolism, is the energy is only good for like the first part of the day. Second part of the day, it's fine, but declining. At nighttime, it's not good. And I moved to cypionate because number one, I went to Florida and I was like, fucking whatever. I don't want to bring the cream. Secondly, though, I wanted more sustained energy throughout the nighttime. Like I was okay at night, but with cypionate, like on this dose, I feel great all day long. At the same time, you know, I'm trying to now, after having run a cycle last summer, I'm trying to now put on more muscle mass, you know, and I'm going to need more nitrogen retention and more consistent androgen receptor activation to do that. And that was the choice to go on cypionate. Yeah, I could take Anavar, but I'll just skew my fucking lipids. I don't really want to do that. Also, the case for prop, do you prefer 25 milligrams daily or 50 milligrams every other day? The best protocol for me on prop, frankly, as to not run into a lack of anabolism and energy, but have rocket erections and pretty good libido, is 70 milligrams every other day with 3 pumps of transcrotal cream every other day. Yeah, that's a protocol that was fucking insane. As long as your nose doesn't sound like a train whistle, you're good. Allergies suck. I don't know if it's allergies or what the fuck it is. I don't really have allergies. I'm not one of those guys that responds to pollen or any of that stuff. I just, this morning, for whatever reason, probably because my heat is on, and I mean, I have a window open in the office here. I don't really know what's going on, but I didn't take any Cialis or anything. My nose is stuffed. But I did eat a giant hoagie last night, and it's probably a histaminergic response or some shit like that. There's a lot of meat on it. Greg Bayer, thanks for the super chat in whatever denomination that is. For highly DHT-sensitive individuals that have issues tolerating DHT without low E2 symptoms, in your experience, is it always a ratio issue, i.e. lower proviron dose, etc., raises aromatizable compounds? Brother, you guys phrase your questions very hard to understand. For a DHT-sensitive individual case, so we got that has issues tolerating DHT without lower E2 symptoms. So you have no low E2 symptoms, but you have issues tolerating high DHT. What are your symptoms? Wait. Brother, I don't understand what the fuck you're asking. For highly am I retarded here? For highly DHT sensitive individuals that have issues tolerating DHT without low E2 symptoms, in your experience, is it always a ratio issue? No. Tolerating DHT without low E2 symptoms. I don't know how you not tolerate DHT. You got to be more clear on this, man. Please phrase this question differently, dude. James, opinion on penile prosthesis? Unless you have massive fibrosis that is just unrecoverable, you don't need this. Thanks for the super chat, though, bro. I think that, yeah, I mean, I've read in the forums, like guys that have longstanding ED, they could have fixed otherwise. I bet. Did this And yeah, it's like a little pump, you have in your scrotal sac, like, and you just press it and it fucking inflates the prosthetic penis. Incredibly, brother, how are you? I'm pretty good, man. 200 milligrams test enethate, 100 every 3.5 days. Okay, that's a good dose. 20 milligrams DHA, 250 IU HCG daily. Probably a little bit too much HCG for that. But higher felt better. Okay, took 500 IU and felt better. Previous PFS, no bloods yet. Lack libido and erection. Okay, brother, you keep changing your protocol as far as I can tell, and I don't see a question here. Yeah, super chat that with some more details, and break it all down if you want me to answer it. I was watching your old videos. Your voice is now significantly deeper since TRT. Have you observed the same thing? Yeah, fucking 100%, dude. I mean, and the weird thing is that my test was like high until I couldn't keep it high naturally. It was in the 900s, and my voice wasn't, deep. It was deep, but it didn't have like an undertone of deepness. Androgens just fucking masculinize every single facet of your fucking being, brother. That's why I love it, man. That's one of the reasons I love it. Yeah, the same thing happens, dude. That's just it. It's something about more steady androgens, does that. I've never had like a super deep voice, but it's just way more. It's way deeper now. I also didn't age. Something really weird happened in my fucking life, dude. And my body. I didn't age from 18 to 33. I looked exactly the fucking same, bro. Yeah. I don't know if that's genes or what, but so I still at 30, I was like an 18-year-old. I looked like an 18-year-old at 30, bro. People were like, "You're 33?" How long did you use Provider consistently without a break? Probably about 2 months. Yeah, it just starts nuking my hair. Branded benfotiamine, I don't remember off the top of my head. Amazon it bought. You said you do HCG at 100 IU daily. My clinic recommends only twice a week. Vigor Steve mentioned 3 times a week is good. Why did you choose just daily? Well, okay. This is just your clinic recommended only twice a week. Why? Do they not get... here's the reason why twice a week may not be useful. It's a bolus of HCG at once, which is going to trigger aromatization in a more than marginal capacity. And that could imbalance you completely in your protocol. HCG often ruins people's protocols just because it takes the estrogen over their range for their testosterone numbers. That's why. For me, at 100 IU a day, I can tolerate nearly 200 milligrams of test. I'm at 175. So that's why it's less. If I was doing 250 every other day or 150 every day, the increase in estradiol wouldn't, would offset the androgens at that point. I'd probably have mild ED and have to take Cialis for sex and stuff. Cold in Pittsburgh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be 60 something today and rainy on and off, but it's just not been spring yet. Hey man, curious to ask, are you a self-proclaimed pro? Because you look quite natty. Are you on TRT Probs Genetics? But I got to give it to you considering age looks good. Am I a self-proclaimed pro? Pro at what? Bodybuilding? I'm not a fucking bodybuilder, bro. No, I ran one cycle literally on TRT, and that was it. The rest of the time on TRT, I've been on strictly TRT doses, man. I don't have. I can never fucking find that. I think that was pre-cycle. That was my physique pre-cycle, just purely TRT. And that's all I've generally always run over the years. It's just TRT. I never ran cycles. And that was post-cycle. And I've kept most of that. When I'm lean, I pretty much look like that. I probably lost, 10% of the actual size and stuff. But I don't think that looks natty. No, that doesn't look fucking natty, but that was me on a cycle. But I'm not on a cycle anymore. I'm just on TRT at this point. Are you on TRT because of genetics? I lost my testosterone levels in my early 30s. And then I had to fight naturally to get them back, and I did, and then I couldn't keep them there. Right? It just eventually went back down, and I'm like, fuck this, bro. Where's the I was just like, where's the test? Let me call every clinic. Just give me that shit. I was ready to go, bro. Is there any case where taking HCG less frequently works better than daily? Not typically, no. Yeah, it's just more estrogen conversion if you do that. Christopher Williams, thanks for the super chat. Brother, estrogen is low and ED meds don't work. Is there any med I can take to slightly rise estrogen to see if that fixes ED? I would not approach it like that. That won't. If you're not on TRT, which is what it sounds like, you have low estrogen because you probably have low androgens. Yeah. You need to get your testosterone levels up, brother. That's what you need to do. I would not, especially if you're not on TRT, I would not increase estrogen. That's going to fucking cause things to be worse. Way worse. Never do that. Never do that. Now, if you're at 1,000 total tests somehow and your E2's at 15, that would be the time to take some estrogen. But I doubt that's the case here. You don't want to do that, bro. You want to get your androgens up. Greg Bayer means DHT compounds tend to give me low E2 symptoms easily. Proviron gives me a boost for a couple days, but then low E2 symptoms. I wouldn't give you a boost if it was actually low E2 symptoms, though. That's the thing. Yeah, DHT does that for a lot of people. DHT can do that. Proviron giving you a boost, who knows? Maybe, it's like the androgenic signal is now good enough. It's like estrogen that's crushed. It makes it feel like you can't feel the androgenic signal. The only thing you'll be left over with is anabolism, but the libido and shit goes away. So that's probably what's happening here, man. You're just sensitive to anything that's blocking aromatase and having some sort of inhibitory effect on the transcription of estrogen post-receptor binding. Was wondering if this is just a ratio issue. I think that it is not a ratio issue. I think you need a little higher estrogen. If you're going to be taking DHT derivatives, you probably need actual higher serum estradiol, which means you probably have to raise the HCG dose, not the test dose, because again, test is going to make more androgens and maybe fuck up that balance continuously. It's just going to scale up the same place you're at, I think probably HCG would be better. Potentially estradiol valerate itself, maybe a little D-ball, something like that. If I'm moving up from 105 a week to 175, should I front load so I don't have to wait 6 weeks to stabilize? If you're at 105 now, it'll probably only take about 4 weeks. But yes, if I were you, I'd front load 100 milligrams, 150 milligrams. Plot it out on steroid plotter, but you're going to have the plot be at baseline where you are right now with 105. And hopefully you have blood so you can train it or tell it to be at 700 nanograms per deciliter to start. And then you inject 150 bolus. That will be a separate plot on the plotter. Days 1 through 7, only a 7-day cycle. And then, also weeks 1 through 25, your 175 milligrams, however it's split up. It's 25 a day, 50 every other day. You start that then too. Is taking 200 milligrams in one bolus shot a week too much? No, not necessarily. I've tried frequency many times and it never worked for me, and I feel way better in one bolus shot. Yeah, plenty of people are like this. Thank you. I've been saying this for a long time, bro. One big shot per week, and some people, all these fucking problems people are dealing with on TRT, they just go away. When they go back to what the endocrinologists were suggesting, these dinosaur protocols, so they work for people sometimes. I think this is great. LOL at people who think everyone on TRT wants to be a bodybuilder and should just be massive. Yeah, it's not like I'm taking trenbolone or anything, bro. And I'm kind of fat. I mean, I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty good. I'm at the gym at least every day, but I have a neck injury, so I can't even fucking push hard, I just started on a higher dose of TRT after being on cream, which is not very anabolic for a while. I mean, go watch my video from a year ago when I was dosing Propylon and I was on higher doses of Cypionate. I can be pretty gnarly. About to be beer o'clock. Tossing any ciders. What time is it where you are? It's 11:46 in the morning here, bro, dude. It ain't beer o'clock until about 5, man. Yeah, I just got a Black Widow pineapple cider, which I like enough. Honestly, it's pretty good. Any, what is it? Arsenal Event Blend cider is usually good. The ginger one is good, and the dry cider is even better. Silver Spring Bach. Looking to get on TRT. I tried to balance my hormones in the UK. Test came back in range. Prolactin was high. They won't allow me to prescribe me anything and said, don't worry about the high prolactin. They said, don't worry about the high prolactin. Get a new clinic. Yeah, prolactin inhibits 5-alpha reductase enzyme activity, which means you get less DHT. It's going to cause sexual dysfunction. At the same time, elevated prolactin consistently is a contributor to cardiovascular disease. You want to lower that prolactin, bro. Hey, coach, my libido and erection quality rocks when I take 500 IU HCG every other day. I'm on 250 milligrams test, 100 primo. Yeah, it's because that primo is probably blocking the E2 enough, so you get enough E2 signal with that a large amount of HCG to compensate for that. Prolactin elevated, E2 at 53. Lower the prolactin. If your libido and erection quality is fine, when E2's at 53, that's fine. Lower the fucking prolactin. Take cabergoline 25 or 0.25 milligrams twice a week to start. Bump it up to 0.5 twice a week if that doesn't reduce it, but it almost definitely will. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. Great fucking questions. Remember, we just changed a lot of stuff around at livecortex.com, specifically around coaching. Coaching is booked, okay? So you can't do 3 and 6 month coaching packages with me until probably August or so. I brought a lot of people on board, and so I can't really take anymore. Again, for those of you that need special considerations and are in a bind and need to book me for coaching, I can probably get you on board, but I can't leave the coaching, the 3 to 6 month coaching up on the website. So these are officially, because people will just book 25 more in the next 30 days, and I cannot handle that many clients right now because I just booked 27 or 28 or something. So these are booked. You can still book me for a sexual function consult, though. Single session call, 45 minutes, full protocol generation, 3 to 5 action routes thereafter. All my expertise applied to your situation. Or the brand new TRT protocol audit. It's a scaled down version of that, but it is a full audit on 8 of the major points of TRT and suggestions on what you should do. You can book these in under a minute at livecortex.com. Again, courses on dialing in cypionate, courses on dialing in cream, courses on dialing in every ester, digital books, livecortex.com or down in the description. You want to dial in, I'm the guy. This is all I do, literally. This is all I've been doing for years. And I've got a good approach that works. I put it in products. Kick ass, rock on. Content coming this week. Look forward to that. I'll talk to you boys in the next one. Peace.